I'll call this meeting to order. It is Tuesday, July 1st, 2025, 1:30 p.m., and we're here to discuss the Sheriff's Office phone plan. And I will turn it over to Lance.
Captain Green is handling most of this, so yep.
All right, so a little bit of it ago, we were in here probably, I'm going to have the months wrong, 3 or 4 months ago about switching to AT&T for the services they offer with the Wi-Fi extenders and some other factors as well. We had discussed switching to that plan, of which my understanding is you guys were in approval of, even though it was $1.25 more a line. They offer essentially Wi-Fi stations that they can put at certain spots so our deputies would be able to pull up, actually get Wi-Fi internet, where right now they're coming all the way back to Wallace, no matter where they are. So if they're out in Clarkburg, wherever, if they're out in the west end of the county, they'd still be coming back here. So that was a huge benefit. Plus they had a rolling outreach station they can send out for special events, such as what we had to deal with this weekend. As I'm sure everywhere, we were actually part of that. We were the whole eastern corridor of that scene of the firefighters over in Coeur d'Alene, of which I was at the command post in Coeur d'Alene. So those types of scenarios kind of brought back some glaring problems with our current phone situation with our deputies, to where our deputies don't have cell phones, to where it creates a serious problem, particularly in this day and age of litigation, to where they will actually try to obtain our deputies' cell phones if they use them for any work purposes in court, in different court trials and so on. So, for example, they get if they're doing undercover drug work, if they're doing drug operations, if they use their own cell phone, now that has to be disclosed and so on. And right now they don't have cell phones. So this is a two-part thing. One part being just switching the existing lines that we already have only for management and admin and such to the AT&T side just to get it signed off officially, as we discussed 4 months ago-ish. And the second would be adding lines for our road deputies so they can do everything from take photos of scenes as they go to making the calls they need to, because they need to make a plethora of calls daily, typically, and particularly with investigations and such. The additional cost for that, well, for one, canceling that plan, according to AT&T, looks like they give approximately $3,000 of coverage that would cover all of the cancellation fees that we were concerned about last meeting. I know you guys have a lot on your plates, but we were concerned about that piece. It would cover all of the cancellation fees, so we won't have to worry about that.
Okay.
For the additional lines, it would cost $644.85 a month is the quote from FirstNet. And so it would add approximately $8,500 to our yearly bill for our cell phones.
Okay. And we're switching from AT&T to FirstNet.
No, AT&T. FirstNet is part of AT&T.
Okay.
We're currently with Verizon.
Okay.
It'd be switching to AT&T, which has something called FirstNet for first responders.
Okay. Yeah, I remember the conversation now. Okay.
And then I can use, sorry, go ahead.
So for this year, it would just be the remaining months. I mean, this is something we would do now. We wouldn't be waiting until the end of the fiscal year.
Correct. We would ask to do it now, particularly with everything's been going on, and we would eat it out of our current budget for this year. And then it would be something bringing into the conversation for the budget for next year as far as raising that $8,500. And with kind of an example of that, for example, this firefighter situation, right, where we have 14 to 20 guys lined up along the eastern side, all in no man's land, trying to not use their cell phones because, for obvious reasons, if we get involved in a shooting or anything, we would lose all our phones. Frankly, our road deputies would lose all their personal phones. Anyone who was involved or texted or anything. Plus, it has to do with talking to victims regularly. This has been an ongoing problem that we've been in discussions probably for about a year now, you think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
To where now enough deputies are pushing back, and rightfully so. They're doing it respectfully, but they're essentially saying, well, you're asking us to do this for our job, but technically they can just tell us no. And they would just come back to the office to make those calls from wherever they are. And also, yeah, it creates numerous problems.
How many new cell phones would this end up incorporating?
15.
15?
And I have the quote here if you'd like it.
No, I was just curious. So that would cover all the field deputies?
Correct, because right now we do have some, not very many, but a few cell phones out. For example, the sergeants have cell phones, and then the detective has one, and then on up the chain has them.
In the jail, we have one cell phone that we keep in the jail that they use for anything work related. So other than the sergeant has one that we issue, and the captain does in the jail, but all the other deputies in the jail share one.
Okay.
When they're messaging for medical and that kind of stuff with the doctor, so their personal phone can't be subpoenaed.
Okay. I understand that. Now, I think Commissioner Dose, you were indicating if we started this now, will we have enough in the budget to cover it throughout the?
$644 a month for the next August, September.
Will we have enough to do that, to cover it?
We would take it out of the equipment line. And we would just wait on a few of our equipment purchases till next year.
Okay.
So you said it'll be about $8,500 yearly?
Yearly additional,
Okay,
yes.
additional.
Now, there's no other costs like, they don't have like if you go over certain minutes or anything like that, there's.
Correct. There's no other additional cost. This is a quote that I'm using currently.
Okay.
However, I would get an additional document as well, just to
Okay.
ensure that they are within these
Okay.
guidelines.
Okay.
And then they also include numerous other services, frankly.
Yeah. And I remember talking about that, how they, yeah.
Yeah, it's set up
It's
just
pretty
for
neat.
first responders.
Yep.
This stuff, and like if there was, say, something where there was limited cell phone service or coverage, something happened catastrophic, this company prioritizes first responders to make sure that our calls go through first and all that, so it's set up for first responders, and they give us other stuff that we're obviously not getting now. The ability to put out mobile towers.
Yeah.
We had a command post this weekend set up around the Bumblebee area,
Mm-hmm.
and this service is okay there, but with that we would have probably had great service,
Yeah. For sure.
And speaking of that, another example is that one, but also just yesterday we had a pretty high-profile suicide, apparent suicide at the moment. We'll see where it goes. It's an investigation is ongoing, where we had no radio coverage whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were literally driving half an hour down the road, half hour back, half hour down the road, half hour back. This allows for GPS. The GPS system, so far I've been testing, it seems to be a lot better.
Okay.
And then also, for again taking photos of the scene and stuff is much more applicable. And in case in point to the undersheriff's, what comes with it, also all the cell phones are completely included. It's just a service they give to first responders, saying, hey, here's all these phones, you don't pay for them like the regular public would.
Yeah.
On that front.
Okay.
Does that fee include any insurance on the phones or anything?
I would assume no, but I can check.
You know what kind of phones they're issuing?
Very nice. iPhone 16s and a newer Samsung, I believe he said a 24. Don't quote me on that one. But very new. They're not the brand newest. Usually it's the second generation.
Right. So the challenge is finding $8,500 next year, really.
Mm-hmm.
But the need is
The need
pretty
is there.
clear.
Mm-hmm.
We're surprised we have gone as far as we have without.
Yeah, the deputies are. I mean, we're doing them a disservice by making them use their own phone for all that stuff, and to where it's opening them up to problems. They're pushing back now. They don't want to do it. They don't want to.
Yeah, because they get their personal phones taken.
Mm-hmm.
And if this is helps as far as hierarchy of needs, we did a climate survey, but it was more than that. Also within our department, particularly patrol side, and kind of show. Of course, they have 100 wants, right? I mean, we all do, right? So they have 100 wants, And so our job is to rank order what they need and what we can do for the least amount of money. And this was number one for the least amount of money. Some of the other wants are like CAD systems of the vehicle, which is typically law enforcement wide. But I think last time we looked into that, it was like $400,000. It was something crazy. This gives the biggest bang for their buck at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, the only thing I see is budgeting and where we're gonna come up with it, but, I do agree that we need it.
Is this a 1-year contract or what is this?
You can leave it at any time, right?
That's correct. It's not a contract at all. We'd run into possibly the same thing as Verizon does, to where, for example, we had certain phones at different lengths of owning them, so there was a $2,600 charge that we're going to have to pay. However, this is typical to where another company will try to help you leave, to where they're going to actually cover it plus some.
Okay.
I can't always guarantee that, but that is typical in this arena.
Well, it looks like we have the ability to back out if we aren't able to do something in the next few months. I don't see it, and it looks like they could cover out of their equipment line for this year. I would be in favor of letting them try it, and then that gives us a few months for them to figure out where we're going to come up with it in the budget.
And we'll work with Lori to
Okay.
adjust budget numbers and add that into our phone line and
Yeah,
try to make it work.
and if we get it, if we vote for it today, we make sure to have that in the motion from the equipment line so that the clerk
Okay.
can move that.
Okay. I would entertain a motion then.
You want to do that, or do you want me to?
You go ahead.
It's a lot of work.
I would motion that we allow the sheriff's office to swap contracts to this FirstNet AT&T. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Using their equipment line to cover the additional $644 a month for the remainder of the fiscal year.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, we'll give it a whirl.
All right. Really appreciate it. Our guys will.
Public comment?
Is this the one that, if I remember right, it benefits the personal plans too, if they go on this?
I'm sorry, the personal plans?
Yeah, I thought, last time you presented it, employees, if they were on the AT&T, they got a discount on their plans personally.
They can, but the county, let's say the county goes with this, it doesn't somehow benefit the employee more if they on their own phone. They can do that regardless of this, and it still wouldn't affect the fact that they still should not be using their personal phones
No,
at all.
I understand that. I just thought when you guys presented it last time, the employees got.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
an option for first responders
Yes.
to
Yeah.
join them and get a first responder discount
Yes.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
That's it.
Any further? Any further, Under Sheriff? No,
No,
Captain?
I appreciate it.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.